Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the April 7, 2026 meeting of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti, and with us this evening,
Good morning, Town Attorney Owen Weaver.
Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell. I was waiting for Jen.
Jay McGuire.
Jack Demerjen, zoning administrator.
all right, we have 4 out of 5 commissioners tonight. Tom had something come up at the end of the day that he couldn't get out of, so it'll be just the 4 of us, and coaching by Owen. All right, so first item on our agenda is a review of the minutes of the March 17, 2026 meeting.
On page 2, Jenny, it starts Commissioner Cornell inquired.
Yes.
Do you know what you were trying to say or what I was trying to say?
I really don't remember.
I don't either. Commissioner Cornell inquired about the low-income breakdown and the topography of the building site. Those seem relatively
I was going.
disconnected.
Well, you had a lot of questions.
Okay,
You did.
so instead of having individual questions, just all merged them together and just put them all in one sentence.
Kind of what I did.
No, I'm just kidding, I'm
I get
sorry.
it, no worries. Would you like me to just take that out, or?
N-
Because I couldn't include every question, you know?
No, I get you. So let us see what would be, because someone can always get a transcript.
I was thinking, is it appropriate for us to look at the recording for the last meeting and then go back and fix it?
Well, listen, there wasn't.
Not monumental, I get it, but
You're right. So I think the things I was inquiring about, I think, I believe that Attorney Sharp was talking about the breakdown between market rents and the affordable rents. And then that might be what we were talking about.
So market rent.
And/or because I had inquired of Jack what the affordable housing units were renting for in Old Smith Farms and what the market was.
So market.
But you know what, we're probably best about,
It seems like you could just change those. Commissioner Cornell inquired about the low-income breakdown, and Attorney Sharp reviewed the breakdown, period. Those go together.
Okay.
That-
right, and
Then,
then,
then say,
And then
Mr. Santos presented a rendering, take the word of out. Or, no, leave the word of in, take the word to on the next line out.
a rendering of the topography and elevation.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Split up the market, split up the income breakdown and the topography question into 2 different sentences.
Noted.
All
I
right,
think we can figure that out.
got the concept, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I had just that second full paragraph on page 2. Paragraph begins with Attorney Sharp continued. If you go down to the 4th line, here's what, I think that's a little confusing, that it says, next, comma, she discussed the Special Act 25-1 housing bill, and I would take out towns and the potential requirement, and then I would add that the town require, take out provide, that the town
Or requires.
require more than 10% of housing units be affordable. take out in orange. Because it talks about a potential requirement, I'm not, housing, so it would say, next, she discussed the Special Act 25-1 Housing Bill, and the potential requirement that the town require more than 10% of housing units in multifamily projects be affordable. I think that's what she said.
Top of page 3, Sarah McGill of 278 Mallard Drive. After length of building and number of units, the potential impact from the demolition process, I believe, was that she was concerned about the well, but might as well say demolition because maybe they rip it and they don't blast, but still, there could be. But I believe she was concerned about the impact on the septic systems and drinking water wells.
Septic systems and wells.
It says wells?
No,
Just
we'll add
just
wells, yeah.
reiterating what you're saying.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, so
Septic
Yeah,
system
that-
wells,
as-
yeah.
as-
That's my recollection.
I think that's right as well.
All right, anything further? All right, then is someone prepared to move that we accept these minutes?
So moved?
Do we have a second?
second?
Okay, motion to approve the minutes from the,
As amended.
as amended, from the March 17, 2026 meeting. We have a motion to approve. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item on our agenda is old business. Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, we'll skip to new business then, under item 3.
Is there a, with regard to the continuation of the middle lane, I was talking to a UI representative. Is this gonna be an issue with signs?
Huge issue.
Yeah.
The town attorney and I, this, I think was shortly before Christmas, if I'm remembering right, sat down with representative from UI, their engineer, and I think the general contractor who would be performing the work, all sat right here. The next stage of the widening of the post road,
The-
which is from
Toward
Lambert-
Milford, right?
Lambert all the way to Milford. Signage and parking spaces are going to be lost at probably 10 or more properties, based on very, preliminary mapping and looks that we were doing. We have no idea what the process is gonna be for these property owners to get new signage approved. They're all gonna need variances for everything. They're not gonna have enough parking at this rate, and they're-
Parking on the, because at the time of their approval, wasn't our parking requirements higher than they are now?
It could be, but speculating that, I'm gonna use the Andini's lot as an example. Their front parking spaces are very close to Route 1, and if you look at online mapping, it shows that most of the parking spaces are in the right-of-way for the state. So if they come in and they remove, 15, 20 parking spaces from that property, they're probably gonna end up deficient if they are not already. Where do they go for a variance, or, as far as signage goes? A lot of the area that they're taking is the only area that they have dedicated for signage. So they wouldn't be able to meet any of our sign regulations based on what they have left.
A lot of the stanchions, you mean the larger signs are in the right of way?
They, not only in the right of way, but you have, UI overhead wires coming in. They have their own setback distances that signs have to be from the wires. So that is, I can't say I know a ton about it, but the UI representative was saying the really tall ones need at least, 50 feet, and then the kind of halfway up ones, Kevin probably knows better than me, needs, I think, 25 feet. So even if the current signs are not where they're gonna pave, they're not gonna meet the separating distances for those wires. So it's gonna be a massive undertaking, and
When is this starting?
they said they're hoping to kind of kick off permitting this summer. I don't really believe it. I think it's gonna be closer to maybe another year or two.
I mean,
But
They're gonna need another solution. I mean, not a variance, but.
I don't know. I mean, the state is gonna take what they want from
Yeah.
these properties for
And
this
then they're gonna have to
project.
figure it out.
They're gonna have to figure out, but a lot of these properties have nowhere else to create parking areas or have a sign that, they're gonna have the sign basically next to or behind their building at this rate, you know? Like I think we were specifically looking at IHOP. The IHOP sign, with the amount of property that they're taking,
Is gonna be,
they're in the parking lot at that point.
Right.
So where do they put their new sign if they have to do it, and is that sign gonna meet any of our location regulations for
yeah,
signs?
it's gonna take even more parking away from them. too.
Who's responsible for getting this property owner a variance? Is the state, just gonna tell us, you have to, let them put this somewhere else? I have no idea what the process is gonna look
Okay.
like.
Signs is just one piece of it. What about the setback requirements? the
Exactly.
Lot density requirement?
Well, that will all be, pre-existing,
Yeah, no, I know that, but I mean, it's gonna be.
But in the future, yeah, if somebody was, if I'm the property owner and I was saving this area of land for some future expansion, and then suddenly, my property line is 20 feet, closer, the edge of the road is 20 feet closer,
Yeah.
might nullify that whole area.
Well, then you better have an attorney when you put a price on the taking.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what the recourse would be.
Yeah. And I went to dinner with a person, UI, and he was filling my ear with all this and making my head spin.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
should be interesting,
That's gonna be bad.
yeah.
All right. Anything else under new business? Okay, Jack, do you have anything to report to us?
I do. I think I mentioned at the last meeting, at our next meeting in 2 weeks, we are going to have another text amendment in front of us. This is for the LI zone signage. Specifically, 88 Marsh Hill is going to be looking to amend our regulations for signage to meet their design specs for the sign that they have in mind. And, a lot of signs nowadays kind of fall under what they want to do, so it may just be a sort of an update to the code, but, we'll have to look at that.
Which building is 88?
88 is the one that's being built right now. It's the community
Marsh Hill
travel
Road.
center and
Oh.
the EV showroom
No,
property.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
That, like I said, they haven't come in. I haven't spoken with them since the last time we met, but they may be looking to delete the EV showroom.
Yeah, this is the
And-
one that Kevin approved.
Yeah, and in talking with Owen,
I had a conflict on that, so I wasn't.
No, I'm just kidding.
in talking with Owen, it sounds like, those special permits are approved.
Right.
There's not much latitude that we have to, go back and revisit that. We also have 2 site plan applications that were recently submitted that I'm most likely gonna be, looking at administratively. They're fairly minor. 507 Boston Post Road was Metro Mattress. They are looking to repave, and they have some minor striping parking lot design changes, mostly to come up to code with the fire marshal for maneuverability for his vehicles. So we just got that, and again, something I'll most likely be doing administratively. It's only, the striping changes, no additions, building, it's gonna stay the same. And then Great River Golf Course. They have a gazebo, a small decorative gazebo they're looking to remove and do like a pavilion more for outdoor weddings and things. So it's really the pavilion and then underground, drainage, just because they're catching a lot more water now. I was gonna mention it to the board. It's not something that I would really put to you guys. I think it's administrative, but if the board wants a chance to look at it, of course, I leave it up to you guys.
Is that all in orange, or is that somewhat?
So the Great River is split between
Yeah.
Orange and Milford. The only improvements that they're doing in Orange is the removal of the gazebo and this canopy.
Right.
Similar to kind of what's over at High Plains, not nearly as big, but, a similar style. And then they're adding 11 parking spaces in Orange. They do have stuff going on the Milford side of things, obviously, that we don't have purview of, but most of the more involved improvements are on that side of the line.
Okay.
So that is coming down the line, but like I said, nothing too major there. As far as that goes, I mean, it's spring enforcement, always, you know, I get a lot of calls this time of year to go look at stuff, so that definitely, you know, heated up this week. But other than that, moving along.
All right, any questions for Jack? Okay, then. Next item on our agenda is a bond release request submitted by Robert Cocchiaro. This is for 926-936 Derby Milford Road. What can you tell us about that?
Sure, this was, I think, a project from 2007. It was for the replacement of 2007, yeah. When they called me for this bond, I had no idea what they were talking about. There was a plan for the replacement of a culvert that goes over 2 Mile Brook. This is for the cemetery that, it has an address in Derby. It's right off of 34. You pull in there and it extends into Orange along Derby Milford Road and the railway that's there. The
So
work
when you're
had been.
driving from Derby to Orange, it's on the right side?
Correct, yes. It kind of looks like open space right now. It's for future expansion for the cemetery. But I went there and I met with, what was his name, with Robert. Everything looked like it had been done for many years now. I think they just never requested the bond back. So he was going through some old files, realized this was never closed out.
$166,000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how this, you know, went under the radar for so long. There's also a $5,000 cash bond included. I made sure to check with our finance department. We no longer have the cash portion. So if that was returned at some point in the past and this just fell to the wayside, I do
No
not.
evidence about the
There's
5,000?
no evidence of a cash bond still being held by the town. I made sure to go ask that
The
question.
word I'm caught on is still. Did we give it back?
We must have. I mean, Paul has a copy of the check that was given to us right here. So we
we-
got it.
I'm still
When it was returned or what, we do not have any record of still having
having
this
it,
check.
okay.
Yeah.
Where would these be segregated into a separate account?
These are separate accounts for each bond.
Okay.
So whenever we are receiving a bond, I go get a separate account number from the finance department.
Right.
And then that's where it goes.
So to your best of your knowledge, there's no $5,000 cash?
No, there is not. I did
And
all
they're
the
not asking-
investigation I could do.
They're not asking for it?
They're not requesting it back. They weren't even aware that there was a $5,000 bond, so I think they already got it back. Yeah, that's the bottom line
Yeah.
here. And if they didn't, then they didn't ask for it either. So, but all work seems to have been done with the approval. It was done for quite a while. So, obviously I wasn't here for when this came through, but everything looked to be in order to me.
All right. I mean, is the applicant going to tell us anything you haven't already
They said
told
they
us?
were not available tonight, so this,
They're desperate for the
I'm, yeah, I'm the best you got.
It's been 20 years, so.
Yeah, Safeco would have let it lapse.
Really?
Yeah, if you don't pay the premium on a bond,
Right,
Yeah.
what happens?
yeah.
Oh,
That-
so why don't we just,
That was my thought as well, but.
why don't
they-
we say we're fine? Not overthink something that happened 20 years
Right.
ago.
All right, so, someone prepared to move that we release the bond?
I'd like to move that we release the bond for the project name 2 Mile Brook Culvert Replacement. Request made by Robert Cocchiaro, Catholic Cemeteries Association of the Archdiocese of Hartford, Inc.
Second.
All right, motion to release the bond has been made, it's been seconded, all those in favor? We have two public hearings tonight. The first is a continuation of the public hearing held on March 17th, 2026. This is the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted by Strawberry Hill Realty LLC to amend the Article 12, to amend Article 12 of the zoning regulations regarding PRD development, planned residential development. The applicant is here.
Yes. Good evening, Sarah Sharp, 42 Cherry Street, here on behalf of the applicant Strawberry Hill Realty. Thank you all for your time this evening and over the 2 public hearings prior to this. One of the items that came up from the neighbors at the last meeting was the current state of the property, and there are broken windows and open roof on the structures. Those had been given over to the fire department to perform some training, and we have pending demolition permits for those structures. The training was recently completed, so we're waiting for the demo permits to clear. There's no other trash on the property. We did find some broken glass on the property. You know, we had a lot of snow, it melted, and my client did get out there and clean up the broken glass, so it's really just the structures that need to be demoed, and that's in the process. We did make some revisions based on our discussion at the last meeting, and you should have that update sort of color-coded. What's in the black, bold, underlined, those were the very original amendments. In red were those from 316 that we discussed at the last meeting. The language in green was incorporating the recommendations from your town attorney. Those are the changes to conform to the 2025 housing bill. And then the revisions in blue are the changes that we made to address some of the concerns from the last meeting, and I'll just go over those quickly. There was a concern about density with our request to increase the allowable units up to 75 one-bedroom units, that you could potentially have that size project on a smaller parcel, like a 2-acre parcel. So we added a restriction into the previously proposed text. This is 383-100D, that limits the overall density to not exceed 16 units per acre, to ensure that you couldn't have 75 units on a 2-acre parcel. Our property is 4.8 acres. We're about 15.6 units per acre with the 75 units. The height, we talked about the fact that we had asked to remove that 3-story limitation and retain only the 40-foot limitation, and why that made sense, particularly on the facade facing the commercial zone. There was a question about how we might provide greater protection for the facade facing the residential property. And so we added back in the limitation to 3 stories for any individual building facade within 65 feet of a residential property. And that's the blue language under 383-101A1, lowercase a. And so that sort of accounts for our condition here, where you have 40-foot limitation applies no matter what. And on a facade that's immediately adjacent to a residential property, you have the further protection of 3 stories. And the final change is 383-102 subpart A, and then renumbering those subparts. This is to address something we discussed a few times, which is that the current statute does not allow the minimum floor area requirements that were in that section, and Commissioner Cornell had raised that, and we addressed it to be consistent with the current statutes. That is all I have for changes, and we're happy to answer any questions or discuss anything further.
I had just a couple comments, some changes. See if you agree with. On 383-100, subsection C. The changes are fine. The change is fine. It's one of the original changes. After the word, there's the language that's deleted references separation distance.
Correct.
And then in the next sentence, it says, this separation distance, which has been crossed out, is in addition to all other buffer. So I think that should be fixed.
Yeah, that doesn't relate to anything anymore.
Right, yeah.
So maybe you could say,
Continue the strikeout.
yeah, continue the strikeout. Yeah, so.
Yes.
I think if you just take out this separation distance, those words, is. It'll just say a maximum of 5 acres on any one parcel in any district may be utilized for housing units under this article. In addition to all other buffer, landscaping, and yard requirements.
I'm not sure, I don't know if the entire sentence makes sense anymore, so I think that the entirety of that second sentence we could strike it because it's referring to a separation distance that no longer exists. The buffer and landscaping requirements stand on their own
Okay.
in separate,
right, yeah.
sections.
Fine. Then I just had a typo on page 5. 383-103A. On the right side of that box, the lesser of, lesser, L-E-S-S-E-R.
We can make that change.
All right. Do we have any further questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I don't know if, I never know if my comments are in the right time frame, whether it's a question or a statement or a concern. So we seem to be kind of interacting back and forth. So,
Well, just, you're thinking in terms of closing the public hearing and then not being able to deal with the applicant anymore.
well, if the applicant will probably want to respond to suggestions I have to make, so I don't think that's particularly fair.
So it's
Okay.
right forum, then let's-
Yeah, let's
All right.
do it.
So, for the benefit of, any neighbors who are in the audience or on the air, when I'm trying to evaluate a text change, in round one, my concern is, what is the concern or what is in the best interest of the town of Orange? Okay? Then once I get past that level, then I look at what are the reasonable expectations of the affected people as well as the applicant. Okay? So, in moving on from what's in the best interest of Orange, which I think is clearly that, given, the push for affordable housing and obligations we're gonna have to provide it, and that this has been around for over 20 years, it's in the interest of the town as a whole to encourage some sort of multi-family development here.
It's in our POCD.
Right.
As well.
But what's also important is that this regulation always recognized that as development spreads out from a commercial district, that there's an interest in buffering the impacts as that intrudes into the residential component of the town, all right? So, in terms of the reasonable expectations of the people who would join this parcel, whether they knew it or not, their expectation shouldn't be that more could be done here than could have been done when they bought it, unless there's some overriding interest in the town. And so,
You're saying that-
Kevin, say that again. I mean,
okay, so
they should have
when
expected.
people buy a property next to a commercial district, or, a floodplain for that matter, you're supposed to be sort of aware of the circumstances in which you're gonna live next to. Now, they've lived in a nice, idyllic, very woodsy area that could have always changed
100%.
at any point in time.
They didn't own all that land.
Right,
They what?
They didn't own all that land. That land was
Right.
somebody else's.
right. But the people who want to develop it also have an expectation that, well, maybe we, have a reasonable expectation of doing something up to the densities that are in the original document.
Well, plus the regulations require that.
Right. But we're thinking about changing the
Yeah,
regulations.
no, I know, but I mean,
Right.
in terms of expectations, I mean,
Right.
the regulations are what they are.
Yes. So now that we're looking to change those, it comes down to, I think, the ask, so we're being asked to revise the Florida area ratio from 30% to 40%, which is effectively saying that on 5 acres, you can do an additional, let's see, so if you've got an FAR of 30% on 5 acres, that's 200,000 square feet, that's 30% gets you a 60,000 foot building, plus or minus. And they would like 40%, which would be 80,000 square feet. So now, I would say to the board that that 30% was put in here originally as opposed to a 50% FAR if it was a commercial property. Because when this was originally written, people understood that there needed to be some sort of transition, from commercial to residential. And that if it was already in a residential district, we had to be even more leery of bigger and more dense projects. So I'm not currently convinced that we should increase the FAR in balancing those two expectations. So that's one large area.
What does that do to the end unit, to the number of units?
Well, what would happen is that, depending on how big the units are, it may impact the overall number of units you can get in the building, depending on how it's laid out. But on the other hand, even though that, a graphic of a building that could be built under this regulation is articulated, it's still a long structure along that axis facing a couple of the properties. So to give them, a bonus, is increasing, giving that FAR increase is sort of at the, detriment of the expectations of the adjoining property owners.
Meaning that the adjoining
Building will
property
be shorter.
Is the issue you raised, Kevin, mitigated by other bulk requirements?
Well, I think that's up to each individual member to decide for themselves. I'm bringing it up as an issue for each of us to consider.
Were the people who complained, were they complaining about the size, the length of the structure?
Some did.
I thought it was more the height, which was mitigated because of the sloping of the
Well,
property.
understand that the people who are coming here aren't used to having to articulate exactly what's going to bother them based on, words.
Well, they
or
were
a
pretty
sketch.
clear about the traffic. I mean, a couple of them have some real issues with their driveways. I don't remember
Yeah.
her name, but
Well, no, I drove in that property, and her existing driveway is quite a challenge.
right.
It's a rocky hump.
You mean access?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
you're talking, yeah. Well,
I mean, I believe,
Not just the volume,
Right.
which, that's a different animal, but a couple of them had real issues in terms of getting in and out.
yeah,
Well,
they're-
we brought
they're-
that up a couple of times,
But-
and
but-
that's an issue they'll deal with it. or have to
Their,
deal with
their access is gonna get a lot better. I mean, just from a objective third party.
Meaning that on the repaving and everything else
You know, accessing through the driveway they're proposing
is better than what it is right
will
now,
be so much easier.
even with the increased volume, you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's not gonna be like trying to go to Trader Joe's.
Right. Can't,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's at the expense of a building that is larger than they could have ever expected by the current regulations.
Well, you know, again, I think giving the upping the FAR is at the expense of the neighbors for not much net gain to the town. Okay, and that's one of the problems with trying to do this ad hoc without professional input, nothing, not that you're not a professional or your engineers who prepared this, but, a third-party professional. So I'm a little uncomfortable with that particular upgrade, personally. But I think other people could come to a different, thing. The other issue, and we can continue that, but I might as well just get them up all on the table, is that I, with respect to the percentage of affordable units in the regulation, we know from history that requiring 30% doesn't work economically. But I'm concerned that 10%, I'm personally concerned that 10% isn't gonna help us with the way things are going now and into the future.
Well, it's gonna help us. It may not help us as much as,
Well, I think that, personally, and again, we
Your
can
number's
all come,
15?
like 15% might be more appropriate. Because over 75 units, that might only be one or two more, but it's, that's all gonna be on a tally sheet for the town of Orange at some point in the future.
Where do we stand with, I know we're not above our need, right? Where are we?
We're currently in a moratorium that expires in September of 2028. I'm gonna use round numbers because I haven't memorized them, but Jack, maybe you know this.
Yeah, I
We
think
had,
I-
when we submitted the application, we had, call it like 220 hue points, and we only needed like 197 or something like that. So we have extra points. We do not have enough points to obtain a second moratorium. So to the extent that there's any project that includes affordable housing, that would go towards a second moratorium. So that's one level. The ultimate goal of the state is to get every municipality at 10% housing stock. Whether that's realistic or not, I don't know.
And what is our number right now?
We were like 2 point something, less than 3%. But we had accumulated enough hue points, which is a housing equivalent points, to obtain the moratorium. So
If I remember right, we were 19 points short of requalifying for a second
yeah,
moratorium.
it's in and around 20,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
So-
almost positive.
Yeah.
I have it all on my desk upstairs, but, and then obviously depending on the number of bedrooms and the type of unit it is, determines how many points you get per unit. But we were about
Right.
20 points short.
So it's two equations. It's a hue point consideration, which is, again, as Jack said, depending on the units. And then the ultimate, like, 10% threshold, you got to factor in your, like, denominator. So Orange has over 4,000 dwelling units, I believe. Whatever.
the ultimate goal.
The state's ultimate goal is for everybody to have 10%,
Today,
Yeah, yesterday. So,
yes, we don't know about tomorrow.
No. So, anyway, hopefully that answers your question.
And then, this is really a point that wouldn't come in Attorney Sharp until a site plan review, but just, you might want to put a pin in it, is that since a project of this nature is going to be bringing in water and sewer connections to that property, you might want to explore how much opposition gets tamped down if you took a lateral for those two services to the property lines of the two affected structures. Because then concerns about things that might happen during demo or blasting could go away. But that's not my
Yeah,
business.
That's a good idea, good point.
Appreciate it.
But anyway,
Well, do you want to respond on some of those?
Yeah, just on.
Sounds like two issues to me. that
Yeah.
for-
Yeah. Well, I think they do they have some relationship to each other because I think part of the reason that this regulation has not been used is because of all of the limitations, not just, the 30% housing, but also the FAR, and the 50-unit maximum. So we know that all of those things have led to no affordable units being built under this regulation. We're proposing changes that would result in units being built, which will help you towards your, HUE points accumulating or your 10% moratorium. The denominator in both instances is the most recent census. So in 2028, when your moratorium expires, you'll still be looking at the 2020 census for your denominator. So any affordable units that you're adding, those will be counted, and you'll still have the 2020 denominator. So the additional market rate units from this won't be counted towards you, at least during that time period until we have the 2030 census. The FAR, I can talk with our architects about where we're at between the 30 and 40. I know that it was necessary. We didn't request anything that was, excessive. I think with the commercial already being an FAR of 50, and we're still stepping down to 40% as a transition between the residential, it didn't seem unreasonable, but happy to discuss that. We haven't talked about this because this is the first time I'm hearing it. On the affordable housing, again, that's something we can talk about internally. It's just we're trying to do a nice project, and you guys know it's a math calculation at the end of the day to get something built and what's feasible on a property like this. So. I don't know if you want me to take a minute to talk with our,
Sure.
okay.
So thought this was a couple of forms, but the difference in number of units would be between 10 and 15 is one unit, right?
from 86,000 square feet to 64,000.
You're talking about the actual FAR?
The actual square footage of the building.
Right, so it's going to result in smaller units too.
Well, the idea would be that if you're averaging 1,000 square foot a unit, you go from 75 to 65.
Oh, Kevin, if you could turn on your mic, please. He's waving to us in there.
Sorry, I thought we're in a timeout.
Kind of hard, that's what.
Why don't we
Oops.
wait until we actually
Okay.
have,
Yeah, why don't we take a break?
Yeah.
you could
No, we're,
put them on a,
you're okay.
you
We're-
could
we're gonna
put them
stay
on a
but-
table for a sec to discuss. You could do the other public hearing and come back.
Yeah, we're gonna stay on, just give them a minute. Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Or, if they
No, it
needed
was-
time.
Okay, so with the FAR, our one-bedroom units, 850 square feet, we could still have 75 units, even with the 30% FAR. What is putting us over the edge is the facade articulation and the architecture of the building. We are we think it's a really attractive building. Could we do it at 30% FAR, but it would be, a flat, a building that is not necessarily what I think that the town would prefer. It wouldn't be the exact same building that we have here. For the affordable, we can agree to go to 15%, but we do need that FAR if it's possible. But we could go to 15%, given everyone's comments and the strong interest. And I think that goes above and beyond to ensure that you're not going to go behind the curve in terms of, future calculations for your, your HUE points and your moratorium. And that's just, trying to work with you guys and
No,
make
we
sure that we're
appreciate
good partners for the town and what you need to accomplish.
So I just want to make sure I understand most of that. The 40 to 30 would require you to change the development of the building in terms of the facade to a less attractive presentation.
Right. It wouldn't change the number of units we could accomplish.
So you're saying go to 15% on affordable units, right?
Yes.
With no change to the FAR?
I'm happy to hear more from the commission and how they feel about it. I mean, we feel that we'll have a better product with the greater FAR, and we do still feel it's reasonable with the transition between the 50% that you can have in a commercial and the residential zone. But ultimately, it's up to everyone here.
Okay. All right. Are there other questions for the applicant?
I just want to be clear on the, and we can talk about this in open forum too. There's at least one owner, and Kevin was talking about before, where the access to her property is not going to be prevented by this development. She's going to have access to the parking lot and eventually to the street.
Correct. Yes, we're maintaining their access to their properties, and we're not concerned about any title restrictions or anything like that. Even though it's not a zoning concern, I know you guys wanted to know about that.
Anything else?
So the 350 feet, you're saying that now the aesthetics of it will change because you won't have it articulated anymore?
It will articulate, just not the extent that we've currently designed it.
Yeah.
We could still accomplish some level of articulation, but I think that, you can probably see some commercial properties that might have a little bit of articulation in the facade, a few inches or something that's just there on the elevation, but what we have done is a lot more meaningful, dramatic for the architecture. So I'm not an architect, so I don't know exactly where it falls in between those.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
So I looked at the 350 feet, and I tried to understand why was it ever 160? And I tried to picture the two buildings. I went out into a field, and I'm like, okay, there's 300, there's 160. And then I did some studying on it, and it's more about airflow than it is the aesthetics. So the articulation may not even help the fact that you're building a 350-foot wall that's 3 stories high, at least 3 stories high. Starting from the ground, it could be 4 stories, right? Well, that's what we're looking at here. So I think the 350 feet is a concern for me, not necessarily aesthetically. Like, I know you could make it look nice, but I think there are issues for those people who have had open airflow, albeit coming from the parking lot over there, but
Right.
they have that flow of air, and now it's gonna be a huge wall that's just gonna consume the area. That was my concern with that change.
Yeah, I guess I understand that. I guess the way that I'd always read this regulation was just about the building massing, and that's why when we originally proposed the facade articulation, it was to make sure it didn't look like some sort of penitentiary, like some
Right.
big block building. And I know that Ed really wants to preserve the New England style of what we've proposed. And, you know, there are things in the design that are for aesthetics that, you know, if we just stripped it down, we can still comply with these minimal requirements. I guess the open airflow, with the backing up to the Raymore and Flanagan, that huge building there, it's like we're immediately adjacent to that, so it doesn't seem like, yeah,
Yeah, it's hard, right?
Yeah, I
Because you're
understand.
basically putting up a 40-foot high wall with 350 feet long, right? And that would be, where I live, that would be almost the whole block,
Right,
that there's now a wall.
right.
That if there was any police, they ain't coming anymore, not at my elevation. Flags might be all right if they're up on tall poles, but I think that's, when I was reading about like why 160 feet in residential areas, it was that. And it even carries into some cities, I guess, too, where there's like,
Well, you're not saying that
Yeah.
there'd be, you wouldn't be able to do any of the articulation, right? It would just be
Well, just
done-
the constraints of this building, of this property, we can't, I guess the 160-foot building, and we can only have this one building area. It's not like we have multiple buildings on the property. I guess if you were limited, you could have multiple structures. I mean, I guess the other thing to consider is, you know, if this property, if it wasn't under a moratorium and someone were to come in with an 830G, they wouldn't have to follow any of these things. And I think that I do see this as a real opportunity to add to your affordable housing stock with a product that is so much nicer than what you would see from those other types of developments. And, you know, I don't think that the 350 feet is something that we can compromise on, because I just don't think our design and the parcel itself allows for it. But I appreciate the comment. I appreciate hearing from you. Thank you.
And if there was a 5-foot break between the buildings, what difference would it make? Yeah, 10 foot.
I don't know, if it was next door to your house, you might be concerned, though, right?
Well, I mean, if, you know, I was worried about similar things with Firelight, and then it's up now, and I'm kind of like, it's not that bad. You know, and that's sort of a similar scale.
Yeah.
No, I understand, and that's why I'm trying to balance
No,
the
so am I,
issues.
like,
Yeah.
and then the idea of, well, if you don't accept this, something worse can come.
Well, that's
Well, that-
that's okay.
We own the
Yeah,
property,
we-
so
we-
it's.
We don't have to worry about that. I mean,
Yeah.
we generally don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get a good project for the town,
Yeah.
Right.
that everybody can be happy with, you know?
Yeah.
I
mean-
I just wanted to let you know that. was-
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I mean,
If there was something we could do to change it, I would. I think that we've changed everything that we possibly can in these
Understand.
discussions. They've been really helpful.
the thing is, it's very hard for us to understand the economics of it all, really.
Not really part of our equation.
Right, and you know, you don't want to force the applicant into a bad project, you know, they won't do it anyway. I mean, it just won't get done if it's not economically viable.
And we've had numerous parcels where that exact thing prevented reasonable projects from proceeding for 20, 30 years.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like on the percentage of affordable, I mean, you know, was 10%, they want 30%. You know, if the project can't be done with 30% affordable, can't be it's not economically feasible, then, you know, we've lost the opportunity for 15%. You know what I mean? And so how long will we wait for the next one?
yeah, I think we have to deal with what's in front of us right now, try to create the best project, and let's see if we can.
I mean, I think that's actually good movement on the part of the applicant to offer 15.
I also think that it's important, I know this is a text amendment, and we do keep talking about a particular property, but it's relevant here because this is a property that has been designated for so long as appropriate for this type of development, and recognizing at the state and the town recognizes that you need affordable housing, and this is a property that has been designated for it, although it does have some challenges. I mean, it has the topography, it has a strange lot size, and.
Configuration.
Right, and so, this is what we've done to try to bring you guys a project for that property that I think can be really nice, so.
All right. I'm going to ask for, at this point, any further comment from the public. And then, Sarah, I'll give you a chance
Yes,
to.
thank you.
Why don't you come to the podium, please?
Hi, I'm Nancy Zelinski, and I'm at 249 Peck Lane Rear. I'm probably the biggest adjoining neighbor to 271. So I'm looking at a map. I was hoping they were going to have the maps up again, but I'm not sure. This is the proposed site plan. It talks about the utility easement there,
Yeah.
right there. But that's only the utility easement to Yana's house. My utilities come in from there too. My electricity comes through a right-of-way that ends up on the corner of my property that's probably diagonally to about there, but I don't see any utility easement provided for me.
Well, it wouldn't be provided at this phase. I mean, what we're talking about now is the regulations and possibly amending the regulations as their first step toward actually bringing in a site plan with it, it specifically defines a project. That is a possibility.
Okay.
It's not what they're offering, not what would be, binding on them in any way. And it'd still be, whatever they submit, would still be subject to, a very in-depth review by the commission
Okay,
to be sure that, all of the requirements of the regulations in that district are complied with. So, that's, Paul Kaplan just brought up before, I mean, access, if they can't demonstrate that they've given access to neighbors, then we're not gonna be in a position to approve the project. So, I can't give you an answer to the question right now,
okay,
but you could be sure that if we approve this amendment to the regulation and they decide to go forward with a project, they're gonna be knocking on your door to talk to you about an easement.
the easement, I believe, already exists. It's owned by SNET, which is
Or
now, I
whatever,
guess,
but I'm not
Frontier.
familiar with the title,
Mhm.
but whatever is required, you need to be able to get from your house to Peck Lane.
That's not my problem. My problem is my electricity comes in from a total opposite point from where I drive in and out of my house. So my electricity has an easement that comes directly across 271 and not where they have the utility easement written in to go to Yana's house.
Okay.
There's actually other poles there that probably would be somewhere in the middle of the parking lot. Maybe they're accounted for. I don't know.
Same thing, though, that's an issue they need to resolve.
Okay,
At the site plan stage.
Yeah, they're not gonna resolve that now,
okay.
but it's gonna be a stumbling block to them getting a project approved if they can't work it out in some fashion.
Okay, so if there's actually like an easement there, I would assume it would be a certain amount of feet. They have to account for that, or do they go to the owners of that easement and then try and buy them out?
I don't know what the title shows. But again, I mean, they have to solve that problem in some fashion,
Okay.
assuming it's a problem. I mean,
Right.
again, I don't know.
I'm just mentioning it because, I see utility easement written in to go to the house that's the island, but I don't see it continued on to my house in 245 Peck. Actually, our utilities both come in from that side. But
Okay,
just wanted to mention that because I did see it for one house but not the others. And I also wanted to say, whoever said for them to connect a water line laterally to my house, yes, thank you. I would really like that to be done. That's it. Just wanted to talk about the utilities.
All right, thank you. Is anybody else? Yes.
Thank you so much, Ahmed Ibrahim. I am representing the Strawberry Hill Realty. I just want to take a moment at the end here just to say thank you for your time and the consideration, and kind of confirm that some of the few points that mentioned, and I will conclude with one more point that's for me the most important I heard during the 3 meetings we have so far. Number one, if we agree that the town, the community, and we feel like we are part of this community, we're in Spruce Manor already for, what, like 3-4 years now, and we feel like we are part of this community already. So if the community feel like we need some multifamily that is with affordable component, I think many people will agree that that particular lot is an ideal location for it. It's kind of a good transition, ideal transition between the commercial and the residential. It's kind of hidden behind Raymore. So we hope it's an ideal location for such development. And as I said from the beginning, we are here to work with the town as usual. We respond to all concerns, either from the commission, from the town, and or from the neighbors. For example, for the affordable component, we are open to more affordable units. And we respond to the neighbors, more important. Before we come here, I think I mentioned this before, before we come here, we reached out personally to our neighbor at 269 and our neighbor at 265, Picklin. 269 has official, on paper, right of way, and we confirm it to her, and we confirm here again. We are gonna respect that, and it was mentioned today that that access would be even better. To be landscaped and buffered. And when the last time we reached to them and we talked to them, they mentioned something like, as Commissioner Kevin mentioned today, that access is really difficult now. And you can easily break your car using that access. We confirmed it to them that will make it much better. They actually asked it, can you work with us even before any construction started, make this access a little bit better? We said yes. They asked it, can you make a little buffer for us? Some landscaping or evergreens. Our architect, Newman, already started to include this in our plans to create this buffer for us. So we work with the neighbors. We continue to work with the neighbors. For example, 265. 265 is, if you are familiar with the location, they have access from Bick Lane. They already have access from Bick Lane. It's supposed to have like a front yard on Bick Lane, and for their own personal reasons, they are not using that, and are using our property to access their house from the back without any official right of use on paper. That's 265. The first time we talked to them, we told them we're gonna respect that, even if it's not official on paper. We'll continue to respect that. We'll make it better, landscaped, and with any necessary buffer again. So we'll continue to do that. For all the points, as it was said here, all the technical points that were mentioned, like the water drain, the landscaping, the buffer, it goes without saying, I'm sure you know. It goes without saying, all this will be considered in the final plans when we reach the site plan. So I just want to confirm this point, but I will conclude with that. And this is kind of personal to me. It moved me a little bit last meeting. Someone stood here, and I'm really serious when I say that. Someone stood here and said, we don't want this development because we don't want, quote unquote, low-income people coming to our community. That was said last meeting. That moved me a little bit because we know this is a code reference to something, and I will hope that we as a community in this state, even this country, especially now, kind of refrain from that. I hope we all agree that, quote unquote, low-income people are also people. They have the same hopes, aspirations. They want to have a roof over their head that's affordable, they can afford. They want to live in a safe community. They want to send their kids to good schools. So I hope that's not the approach we use in any development, including this development. Again, thank you so much.
You're welcome, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on the application? Okay.
Hi, Sarah Sharp again. I will keep this very quick, but I didn't want to leave our neighbor thinking that she might possibly lose access to her electricity. So we believe that that electrical easement is not on the survey because it no longer exists. It expired. But regardless, if, you're not going to lose electricity. So we will, work with you if that is indeed how you're getting your electricity. You will not lose electricity from this project. So I don't want you to leave here tonight wondering about that. So thank you.
May I rebut to that?
Yep.
Nancy Zielinski. I wasn't aware that an easement like that could even expire. Is that true? How do
can't-
easements like that even expire, ma'am? I have telephone poles going through it. Attorney Sharp, is it? How do easements like that even expire? I mean, it's been there for 30 years thus far. And long before that, before I even bought the property.
So I'll just speak into the microphone for the record.
Sure.
So as part of your closing on a property, you get a title search. There was no evidence on the land records of any continued utility easement. There are no utility poles on the property, I've been told, so.
Well, you've been told incorrectly about that.
Okay, so like I said, regardless of any of that, if that is how you're getting electricity and there's no other way for you to get electricity, we will work with you. You're not going to lose electricity because of this project. So that was my only point in saying that. I don't want to go down the history of the land records because I haven't looked at it myself, but
I have.
thank you.
Okay. Well, I just like it known that I don't want to lose my electricity there, and I think that the fact that there's an easement that's been there for as long as I've owned the house and longer, because the telephone pole that's actually on my property,
Yeah.
entirely on my property, is number 118. The next telephone pole over is in the thousands. So that's how long the phone pole on my property where my electricity is coming in has been
Okay.
there.
All right, I mean,
Thanks.
your concern is duly noted. I mean, it's not something we're gonna resolve tonight.
I get it, but it wasn't on the proposed site plan, so
Yeah.
cause concern.
Well, again, that wasn't a proposed site plan.
It's just a conceptual design, so we have something to look at.
What
Okay.
what they need to bring before us is the site plan. And, we'll have plenty of time to review it and ask questions about it, including these questions.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, at the last meeting, there were several issues raised, traffic, I just noted traffic, stormwater management, site drainage, wetlands impact, there's a possibility that they need a permit from inland wetlands,
There could be, it
Right.
depends on what the soils say.
demolition, construction issues, there was concern about the potential if they had to blast, there would be. So, I mean, and safety, someone talked about, speeding on that road, and the bus stop was there and all that. So, those are all
Site plan issues.
good issues, and they're all gonna be addressed on a site plan. I was, in these regulations for, planned residential development, the applicant has to provide an initial residential plan, so and then a follow-up to that. So, I mean, it seems like a more extensive review than we otherwise usually have.
And it's
And
a
plus
special permit
and
too.
it's,
so.
it's a special permit application. All right, so, anything else? Because we're gonna close the public hearing, and then we can't hear from the applicant again, so, I mean,
No, I think Attorney Sharp has articulated, well for her, client, and now we have to decide what's good for our client, the town of Orange.
okay, so then, does anybody think that we need anything from outside the commission in order to decide the application? No? Okay, then, is someone prepared to move that we close the public hearing?
Move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, it's been moved that the public hearing on this matter be closed. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You want to start us off, or?
Well, I would start from page 1 and go to the end. So, and if someone's got a better way, I'm all
Well, I mean,
ears.
to me, there's, I didn't focus on the floor area percentage, nor did I focus on the issue you raised tonight.
Talking about percentage of affordable housing?
No.
No, the building mass.
FAR, yeah.
I got it, yep.
So, to me, when I looked at this again today, I saw really two substantive issues. One being the 10% versus 30% on the affordable housing, and the other being the permission to do 75 units if they're all one-bedroom. All units are efficiency and/or one-bedroom units. Right?
And I think 800 square feet or something like that.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
but that's probably the unit size, so then
Yeah.
there's gonna be some common area losses for hallways, elevators, stairways, common rooms, stuff like that.
So the regulation, as it stands, you could do up to 50 units. With the proposed amendment, you can do 75 units if they're all efficiency or one-bedroom units. And then we added a further protection, on the density question. We added the
16 units per acre.
overall density cannot exceed 16 units per acre. So I saw those as the affordable component and the lot density component as being the substantive issues. The rest of it, I sort of felt like it was taken care of. I mean, Owen proposed changes to what was, to the application, to cover the parking. So I'm not really concerned about that.
So you're using Kevin's framework, which I think was pretty spot on. The first question of, do we need this kind of project? Is this good for the town conceptually, forgetting about the actual, not minutia, but the important issues that arise from the building? You're on board with the concept that we need affordable housing, we need housing for single people, this kind of setup.
Yeah.
Because I am too.
Yeah, no, I feel that way. I mean, it's clearly in our plan of conservation and development.
Right.
The applicant's application points that out. I don't know if you have that with you, but
Right.
in the last paragraph of the text amendment narrative makes references to the plan of conservation and development that are applicable, I think. I mean, we have the opportunity to provide additional affordable housing. But she suggests the PRD amendments will also support the POCD recommendation, quote, to promote opportunities for affordable housing. And the other thing, support this, this amendment would support a diverse housing stock.
That's critical. 'Cause we don't have
By
any.
facilitating a modest multifamily development with affordable housing units. So, I think it's consistent with our plan of conservation and development. I think if we, we're hesitant, I'm not hesitant's the wrong word, if we were unwilling to really give this good consideration, we'd be running afoul of what we've committed to in the plan of conservation and development.
Right.
And I guess the the 75 units doesn't bother me, given, their analysis on that. They say another important component of this proposal is the request to allow up to 75 units in the PRD development, but only if the project consists of entirely studio and one-bedroom units. The current PRD provision allows a maximum of 50 units in a single development without regard to the number of bedrooms provided within those units. In other words, a PRD project with 100 bedrooms or more, that is 50 two-bedroom units, is currently allowed. The proposed amendment ensures that the allowance for 75 units will not result in any greater density than what would be allowed under the current text. I'm not sure that's exactly right, I mean, it's, traditionally, we talk about density as being units per acre. That's really talking about people per acre, isn't it? Again, I don't see it as a big deal. I think 75, one-bedroom units,
Or efficient.
yeah, efficiency. Efficiency or one-bedroom unit, 75. I mean, I don't see that as much different than 50 units, which we allow.
Well, we have basically very few of these kinds of units in town right now.
Right.
Right, I don't know how many in Firelight or one-bedrooms. There are a few, but not many.
They're mainly 1 and 2 bedrooms. There's even a few 3 bedrooms in there as
Right.
well, if I remember right.
So maybe there were 15 or 20, right?
Could
I
be,
I
yeah.
guess the market for that type of dwelling would be what? Maybe kids right out of college? first-
Starting their careers, sure.
Yeah, someone who's lived in Orange all his or her life,
Wants to downsize?
wants to downsize, stay in town. So I can see where it does lend to diversifying, our stockpile of residential housing opportunity. So, and then the rest of it, I see your point on the floor area. I'm thinking that there's probably enough other requirements built in that, won't make the project, other requirements, bulk requirements, that will operate such that, it won't, project won't appear to be overly developed.
Well, if you, again, the, the applicant's contention that adding architectural interests decreases the efficiency of the floor plans is valid, meaning you do have to, a square box is gonna be more efficient than something that's more interesting, right? But, so if you wanted to say, in the regulation that, give yourself some wiggle room, that your baseline is a maximum, FAR of 30%, unless, in the commission's discretion, more is warranted to, achieve some other, architectural, I'm sure we could come up with some way to give ourselves some wiggle room to reward them for not building a box.
And that's what was intimated, that in the event that we dropped it to 30%.
Well, to get to 30%,
That would
they
be the
would
net
have to,
result.
the result would be they would have to get, the building architecture would have to get ruthlessly efficient.
They could still,
That is not as attractive.
That would be the net result.
and they could accomplish the same number of units at 30%.
You know, but we might not like what it looks like. So,
And what would be the sense to that?
well, they're still gonna rent it. What would be what would be
Why-
our benefit?
What would we be accomplishing?
Well,
Reduce the size of the building by a little bit.
not necessarily. On 5 acres, you're talking about the difference between, say, 65,000 and 85,000 square feet. So, you know, that's, to put it in, if a 3-story building's, you know, stacked, that'd be, 7,000 feet a floor. That's not a small number. But, again, if the FAR's not bothering, other people, I want it just explored out. To me, I think that the adjoining people, but again, without there being, this being done as part of a much larger, look at, we're doing it, ad hoc on the fly.
Well, I mean, it's not like we have a legislative history or something, or,
Right.
I mean, how did they arrive? Why is 30 a good number?
Other than it's been a good number for 25 years
Well-
in terms of, but it never
But
didn't
it
get anything
never
done.
got this property developed.
This is a
Exactly.
special permit we're doing?
Correct.
Yes.
PRD is a special use.
I like your idea about the 30% and we have discretion, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how you word things
I
like
don't know how you
that.
do it. That's an Owen problem.
That's an Owen problem.
I think so.
I mean, I'm not adverse to rewarding people for making something nicer.
Nicer. I'm
Okay.
on board, yeah.
I just don't want to, and I understand that, in the town of Orange, to create a single-family housing, the land cost is over $150,000 per dwelling unit, all right? So to work on something that can drop the land cost to a developer to the, $15,000 a unit cost for the land, or, 10, makes things happen, to create products that we don't have in this town, but not so many of them that it changes the character of the town. So, but if there was a, if everyone else says 40%'s okay, that's.
Well, I feel like it's okay with me, but you're right. I don't fully understand, I have to admit, why it was 30.
I think it was just some sort of recognition that the commercial land is one thing, and we want it to be intensely developed. But then these few small residential parcels in the residential zone that were also carved out were something different, that needed to transition to the residential differently than the commercial. But was that not enough,
But, you know,
when,
going back to your initial comment, what's the reasonable expectation of the people that live in that neighborhood? I mean, is it, what's the difference from their perspective between 30 and 40?
well, personally,
I mean,
I
like you
would
said,
rather look at 40,000 feet of something that was worth looking at than 30,000 feet of a cracker box, me personally.
And I think it's a legitimate position, you know.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're not-
I
we're-
heard the neighbors, who I think we're all listening to intently, because they're the ones who are directly affected. Not that the rest of the town isn't affected, but I don't remember them, I'm sorry. I don't remember them complaining about the length. There were complaints about the size, which were, you know, it is what it is, and it certainly ameliorated a little bit by the topography of the land. To make this make sense, I think that's critical to keep that kind of a size on the top. But the 40% doesn't rock my world one way or the other.
All right, because it's gonna be rocking it elsewhere in the zone.
Well, understood, and that's
Okay.
why I was saying that your first point, with a special permit, where we have a little bit of wiggle room, is probably not a bad idea, and let's see what they come up with.
Well, you know, I mean, he's sitting right there, you can ask him if he's seen something that,
Is that something that you can do?
No, we closed the public hearing.
No, I meant
No.
with Owen.
oh, Owen can't talk to us?
Oh,
Right, I mean, I'd have to think about that. Like, that phrase doesn't come off the top of my head. I mean, this commission can approve or deny this application if you're looking for tweaks. You know, you could authorize me to negotiate with them after, if you choose to deny it and let them come back, you know, for example, waive the fees to come back or something like that. But, you know, at this point, you've closed the public hearing, so they wouldn't be able to comment on any
Right.
suggested edits that I could make from the table right now, so.
Well, but they're not gonna comment on, I mean, it's our legislation at this point.
I agree.
So.
Right, no, you're absolutely acting in a legislative
Right,
capacity.
so if we change text to something we want to adopt, that's what we're doing right now, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Seems like not a very useful exercise if you know they're not gonna do a project because of the changes we made.
Right, there's a practical consideration.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the applicant indicated that they would, go to 15% on the affordable housing?
Yes.
If we, and leave the FAR as is?
They
As it was.
recommended leaving the FAR as is because it would result in a more aesthetically pleasing
Right.
project, but that a talented architect could still probably get 75 units out of the 30%.
So, I mean, we could, if we're so inclined, approve the application with the understanding that it be 15% affordable.
Well, there's other stuff, there's other language to clean up in here too. I mean, there was some language we're looking at here for the first time that says, you know, the building height being 40 feet or any building facade. Their suggested language goes, and any individual building facade within 65 feet of a residential property shall not exceed 3 stories. And we had originally proposed, you know, that if the facade is adjoining a residential property, it won't, you know, what's the 65 feet about?
Well, I thought
And unfortunately, I didn't notice that until just now.
Yeah.
I thought that what we had said was the height could be no more than 40 feet.
Yes, but 3
Period.
stories of residential, you know, the average building height's measured around the entire perimeter of the building, and on the side that faces Raymore and Flanagan, it's more than 40 feet. But it's an average height around the building.
It is what it is.
That's why there's 4 stories on the Raymore and Flanagan side.
Yeah, but they added the language, the further requirement that any individual building facade within 65 feet of a residential property shall not exceed 3 stories.
Right, and when I brought it up at the last meeting, I understood that they wanted to take advantage of topography.
Right. I think they thought that they were giving us what we were looking for on that.
I unfortunately did not focus on this until here. I was thinking that, and 65 feet may work, but, you know, there were a couple of
Well, no,
houses.
65 isn't height,
No, that's a distance.
that's the distance.
You know,
Still,
and
no building can, the way we measure it, I understand what you're saying about the
Yeah.
average. No building shall exceed a height of 40 feet, and any individual building facade within 65 feet of a residential property shall not exceed 3 stories.
right. That was to keep the people
So
on the east side.
is that the Raymore and Flanagan side?
No, that's the west side.
All right.
You know, the neighbors are basically on the, you know, the east side of the property, looking at a 3-story elevation.
All right.
But for some reason, there's a 65 feet in here, as
I
opposed.
thought that answered the question, but maybe I'm.
It might. I mean, I'm not, you know, overly stressed.
All right, well, let's come back to the substantive issues.
Yes.
If you want to run through the rest of these, what other questions you have?
All right, so page 1 just is fine with 10% going to 15%.
So
Page 2.
you
sorry.
can live with the 15%. Or,
I would suggest that, yes.
okay. 'Cause I feel comfortable with
Yeah, 383, 100B, I don't know why, I just strike out that paragraph. I might as well clean it up now.
383, 100B.
B, as long as we're cleaning stuff up. I don't know what that has.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have any applicability.
All right, so we clean that up. We've talked about 383, 100C,
Yeah, they're just gonna make a
Yeah.
revision.
sorry?
They're
Make
gonna
that
just
be- yeah.
just fix that, yeah.
Right.
What do we say? We're deleting the last sentence.
Striking it,
Yeah.
yes.
So C will end at article, under this article, period.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Who's gonna be preparing the, well, we'll
Nancy.
get to that.
All right, and then I'm fine with the, what'll now become paragraph C, no more than 50 units, maybe, you know, that paragraph seems like fine with me.
I agree.
On page 3, 383, 101, you have to decide, I mean, we can go with this language or change within 65 feet of a residential property to adjoining, and then see what happens on their site plan. You know, either way, because it's gonna be a special permit the first time we look at this. And if 65 feet is funny business to cause a problem for a particular adjoining person, we won't allow it to happen. So if you want to leave the language, I'd be okay.
I don't know, to me, it's more restrictive, you know, so, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a.
You mean rather than joining 65 feet encompasses potentially more?
It's more restrictive
Yeah.
on the applicant.
Yeah.
So, you know, we could always, or we could conceivably relent to some extent, you know, when we get the site plan
Special purpose,
applica-
yeah.
But we have the benefit of this if we don't want to. I think,
I think leave it with.
I think I would leave it
as-
for that reason, you know, just because I think it's more restrictive against the applicant. It's the applicant's language.
Yeah. So this is,
So can I ask you a question on that one, right? So the 40 feet is an average, over the average of the land, right? We all know that, right?
right.
And the 3 stories is to protect what?
So the 3 stories is that,
If you had an extreme piece of land, you could have a 6-story
You mean one?
building that's,
well,
maybe it's 80 feet high on that side, but on the other side, it's only 2,
That'd
you know what I
be-
mean? You could extreme. So it's the mixture of those 2 things that protects.
I think that the 40, the way you measure height is relatively consistent in all the zoning codes I've
Right,
had to deal
yep.
with.
And-
So
and
that's
in all
just, you
these
have to deal
districts.
with it. What's that?
And in all our zoning
And
districts.
they
Right.
all have, the stories in it as well.
Right, so I think what we're trying to do with the street, 3 stories facing residences is that if you have a monster house, it's like 2.5, you know?
Yeah.
So if you have something that's commercial and it's 3, it's not really out of scale. But if somebody wanted to jam a 4-story into 40 feet, all right? And instead of having, you know, a nice, you know, roof, it was a big flat, you know, looked like a public building,
Yeah.
you could jam in 4 stories in 40 feet. You know, if,
But that language prevents you from building more than 3 stories.
right,
This one,
right.
What we have now, yeah.
And the story is what?
but not
12
with
feet?
No, what's
the
being
change.
proposed.
Not with the change.
Huh?
What is
What's
this-
being proposed, right?
Yeah, what's being proposed.
What's,
It
how-
would stop you from building a 4-story building?
Yeah.
No. Nope, it could be 4 stories as long as it's not facing a residential property.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
So it's still a 4-story building.
Right.
Well,
It's just not facing your house.
Right, if it's completely surrounded by commercial property, you could have an 8-story office building. Why would you care if you had a 4-story?
Well,
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, the commercial building, that's not how the zoning is set up.
well, the section we're talking about is for the residential, when you, a PRD in a residential district. In a
Right.
commercial district, the requirements are a little different.
But it's
it's
still
not.
40 feet or 30.
And it's still 40 feet, 3 stories, right?
Right.
So all I'm suggesting is that this added phrase imposes another restriction on the applicant.
It imposes a restriction that meets their plan.
That's up to them. I mean, you know.
Well, the
yeah,
4
yeah,
stories they need on one side, right, to make the numbers.
but that's not the side that's facing the residence.
It's still a
Well,
4-story
it still
building.
falls,
That wasn't allowed before.
uh,
So I'm into the situation where I think that thing looked great, right? But I'm not of the mind to say we change our regulations to fit one building that's an exception, right? Because it looks so great, right? I think the regulations were thought out with, I think there's thought behind them. And that's what I'm trying to understand is, okay, why? Why the 3? And it's so that you don't end up with 4-story buildings, right? That's why it's in the regulation. There's no other reason. Why would you say 3 stories unless all you want in Orange is 3-story buildings? And we're starting to say, well, a 4-story wouldn't be bad as long as I don't have to look at it. And it's facing some other building. That's
Well,
what we're saying in this statement right here.
It could only be
Right.
4 stories if it's not more than 40 feet.
Yeah, but it's still 4 stories.
How big is the story? 10
And the
feet?
40
So
feet
it's
is
fire line.
misleading too,
Well,
right?
only yeah,
The
How-
40
how
feet
big
is
is a-
misleading because that
is
facade
a
could be
story?
higher than 40 feet.
Yeah.
If the average of the terrain brings it down to that.
Okay.
Paul, to answer your question, a story is the portion of a building between the surface of any floor and the surface of the floor, ceiling, or roof next above,
So it depends on the
the
structure.
design.
Okay.
So that's my, and
Listen.
like I said, I don't have any problem, and I think it's great that they would add the affordable housing. I think that's fantastic. But I think changing it, there's still 2 other properties that now have the same situation, right? And I think it was said, oh, it doesn't affect those, but what if there's more properties later, you know?
As
No,
long as they're
that's
not,
where we're
but they're
at.
not gonna be affecting, at least for the immediate 65 feet, it's not gonna affect those properties, right? Because it's gonna be, it can't exceed 40 feet,
So then what's the reality of 65 feet, right?
the immediate, the
Does it
adjoining
really
properties.
matter if it's 70 feet, 80 feet? I'm looking at a 4-story building
Well, no, you're looking at a building that can't exceed 40 feet.
that could be 4 stories.
Well, not entirely.
If you look at that
Yeah,
building
yeah,
on a
but-
hill, right?
Yeah, but
It's
not-
40 feet from the middle of the hill. So the side that you're looking at could be much taller to look at.
So,
No.
No? I thought it was
Not
from the
practically.
average of the.
So it's from an average, but just from a practical standpoint, since each floor is at the same level,
Right?
okay, so if on one level I'm looking at 3 stories, then through the width of a building, how much more could it drop down and where does that type of topography exist in Orange?
On this lot, because they're gonna be able to. do
Just
it.
on that lot. I mean,
I
just.
don't know that.
Well, I think about the whole commercial district. It's relatively flat except where it backs up on the north side. You know, if they could build into the hill there, you know, you could run into a similar situation, but that's a commercial district. And if you go down to the next paragraph that covers the commercial ones, because this only affects the residential ones,
Like it
which
would
is
be-
like
it'd be
3
a,
parcels south of,
Like one-story ranch house with a garage underneath.
Yeah.
You know, you see that configuration all the time, right? So,
But then one neighbor sees 2 stories, and it's taller than a 1-story building. He's seeing a 2-story building, whereas the other guy sees a 1-story building. So somebody, in this instance, if my property ends up being 70
Well,
feet
your-
away,
your-
I'm gonna look at a
your
4-story
issue
building.
is with how height is defined.
no, because it says or 3 stories.
No, it doesn't say or anymore.
That's,
The or is scratched out, it says, and any individual building facade within 65 feet. So the 4 stories goes away. Right, but only if it's within 65 feet of another residential property. So if I'm 70 feet away, I'm now 4 stories again.
well, the building didn't grow,
No,
so when you're looking at it, whether you're 70 feet or 65 feet, unless the topography for them went even further down, they're gonna be looking at the same height of that building, right?
I think to get past your concern, if instead of having a defined number, it said adjoining residential property, it goes away.
Does it?
Well, why? Yes, because if I'm a residential property adjoining this or any other project, my expectation is I will see whether I'm 65 feet away from it, as long as I'm on the adjoining property, I'm gonna see a
65.
3-story building.
Correct, no more.
Right. If I'm Raymore and Flanagan, in this particular instance, I may look at 4 stories. I don't care
I don't care.
about the rear end of
Right.
Raymore and Flanagan. But if this is another parcel, and I'm the adjoining property, but I happen to be
Looking.
70 feet away,
All right.
but I'm adjoining,
So you thought it was more restrictive, they're posing the issue that it may be allowing a parcel,
not that we don't know about,
right, whereas adjoining is more comprehensive, it is what it is.
you're sharing a common boundary line. Right?
Yeah, I'm all right with that. If you take away, I mean, I'm not
I mean, how many other
thrilled. I'm not
properties are there
thrilled.
in
Aren't there 3?
No, I think the only one they identified was
said
Foyer
was two
Farm.
others.
Yeah, I think it was just this one and the Foyer Farm property that currently
There was one
are
more.
eligible?
are eligible, yeah.
I thought there was one more.
I don't think so.
Drafted to say
Next up-
adjoining or no less than 65, listen, I think adjoining takes care of it. It takes care of Jay's problem. I don't see the big, the issue of being monumental.
No, I don't think it messes their plan up either if you
Right.
just say that. I don't know why it says 65
You
feet.
okay with that?
What do you want to say? Put
Just
it,
adjoining instead of 65 feet.
Yeah, any individual building facade adjoining a
A
residential
residential
property shall not exceed 3 stories.
all right. Let's do that for now, anyway. We'll
you're-
talk about that further if we need to. All right, let's proceed.
Well, so
Well,
then
go-
it's deciding 30 or 40%.
Right.
So show of hands for 40%.
Well,
What is?
The
that-
FAR,
that-
sorry.
Yeah, no, I know. So,
I thought you continuing your review through the-
Aging through it?
oh.
I am. We went
Yeah,
from
next.
383-101A to 383-101C.
I lost you, Kevin, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Page 3.
Page 3, section 383-101, subsection C, the maximum building floor area ratio.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry. Jeez.
That's okay.
Yeah, we want to say, I guess if we're going to change the affordable units, that percentage, then I guess I was inclined to leave that
Okay.
at
So
the way it
that-
is now, at 40.
That's
fine with
one.
me.
That's 2. Where are you, boss?
I'm all right, I'm all right.
Okay, it's 40%.
How many does that affect? How many lots does that affect?
Again, in the current configuration of parcels south of the post road, I think the only other qualifying parcel is Foyer Farm, which I'm sure
Yeah, I'm
is
okay with
not
that.
on the horizon of being developed.
Right.
I
Okay.
mean, that isn't to say somebody
It couldn't
couldn't.
Somebody
Be-
could
could be-
buy 5 parcels and put them together,
Yeah,
absolutely.
five
Understood.
parcels.
Okay, I just wanted, since Owen was here, if we could go to page 4, 383-102. Owen, the getting rid of that minimum floor area is okay?
Yeah,
Everything
I-
else looks like it may be still legal.
I mean, the housing bill prohibits municipalities from having zoning regulations that impose a minimum floor area that is different than the state building code. So this was a provision that was gonna have to get amended. I mean, it can be stricken now, and if we need to put in a provision that says the floor area is gonna be consistent with the state building code, we can revisit it, but this is fine.
Okay,
All right.
then the next,
Take care of that typo on page 5.
Right, that was mine. I plead guilty to that.
and within your rented tabulated tabulation here, these are consistent with the new law, the parking requirements, right?
Right. I mean, the restricted age, 62 or older units and the assisted elderly units, I think that will have to be revisited, but I had not commented on it because it didn't pertain to the application, so I would leave that now.
What is elderly? I'm afraid to ask this question.
You,
What is, yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Is that different than the restricted age of 62?
Yeah, it's like What's the one off of,
Fieldstone?
no,
No,
I'm sorry.
Smith Farms?
No, no. No,
Disney World?
Charter, no, not, across from, where Big Y's coming. What's this?
Oh, no, it used to be the Vero. It's the memory assisted, you know, the memory care.
Charter Living,
Charter
thank you,
Living. It
yeah.
used to be
you
the
know,
Vero. When they came in for us, it was the Vero.
The restricted units could be, you know, like, Fieldview Farms versus the assisted living would have some sort of other care component. But, anyway, I don't know that those two provisions comply with the Housing Act, but again, I didn't suggest any changes because I didn't want to overcomplicate the record on what the applicant was proposing, so.
Okay.
And then on page 15, 383, 115A2, that would also go to 15%.
Skip
15, okay, yep,
Yeah, gonna make that 15.
yes.
Oh, you want to go back to that, sorry.
The 350 feet?
What, I'm sorry, what number was that?
Page
383,
115,
115, A2.
A2.
Okay,
Just
thank
make
you.
it consistent.
Yeah, page 5, H, the 350 feet versus 160 feet. You're all okay with that?
Page 5,
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I kind of am.
You are.
Based on what I saw? Yeah.
With the configuration of this lot,
Yeah, that's
It's-
an interest, that helps.
yeah, with the configuration of the lot, it is very tough for anybody to utilize any area other than, you know, the main body here along this property line with Raymore and Flanagan. All this other area, you're basically dwindled down to nothing because of setbacks. So,
And
yeah, that's the idea behind one larger, long building as opposed to a smaller, you know, smaller buildings sort of sporadically put out there.
Do you change the regulation or do it with a variance?
there's no hardship.
Because you talk about the Foyer one, if it did get developed, right, that's gonna be a 350-foot long building that you're gonna see.
Well, again, it's still by special permit, so that you could still say no to whatever long building you want and say, no, you know, you have a lot of latitude with the special permits.
but we have, doesn't this language, I mean, we can live with this language, right?
I think Jay is saying he's uncomfortable with the 350 feet.
Doubles the size, or more than doubles.
So, show of hands.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it as well.
Yeah, with the the change.
Yeah, I'm not, so.
All right.
So now we just have to find something for Paul and Ozzy to be unhappy about, because you and I are unhappy about one thing.
I'm trying to think of
Well,
ways
you-
to get me around that.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point that, you know, any application where this comes into play, I mean, it's gonna come into play, probably. It's a special permit application, so we have a lot of discretion. So if, you know, if it's 350 feet long and, you know, that's what's proposed, you know, what type of architectural
Well, so,
changes could we request?
so you could look at it the way we look at, outbuildings, garages, right? Where you say, the regulation says it can be 160 feet long unless, you know, but the commission has the
Discretion.
discretion
Yeah, that's
to extend it to 350 feet.
No,
But this is
here's
the
what I was,
opposite.
here's what I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Building walls that exceed 160 feet in length You're adverse to the 350 or,
Yeah, and I think it's more than just aesthetics. I think we're ignoring some other stuff too.
like what?
Light, wind, all kinds of stuff that gets blocked by a 3-story, 350-foot building.
Well, what I was gonna
It's
suggest.
next to a residential area. I understand when you're saying it's in a commercial zone, all that other stuff, you got it. But these people bought land that they did not expect a 3-story, 350-foot building to be built next to. It's, and if they went to the regulations, they'd say, okay, 160 feet, that's a big, that's the length of my property, is 350 feet. That's a lot.
Although someone
5
could
acres.
come in with a residential
And right,
house like that guy on Ridge with the, you
Yeah,
know, with
the
the
big
basketball
garage.
court.
the thing, and they
Oh, that.
attached it to the house, and then you just have to meet the bulk area requirements.
right.
You know, so you could wind up with the
I don't
same.
know, you mentioned light and what else? Airflow or,
And the aesthetics of it, but it's just a big,
Well, we're also talking 5 acres, right?
Environmental
4
thing.
acres? What is this?
Yeah, 4 and change,
Almost 5.
almost 5, yep.
supposing we said something like, building walls that exceed 160 feet in length shall include facade articulation features and such other architectural and functionality features that the commission,
how long is Firelight?
That eliminates a cap on the feet, though, the way you've articulated.
I just didn't, yeah. I'm not writing it down, I'm just, but yes, no, without phrase so that 60 feet stays in.
So what about, sorry to circle back, but the way we deal with
Roughly 280.
garages is they can be X square feet unless, you know, and then there's some language, and we've approved some very site-specific, larger, longer, you know, buildings.
That's the exact opposite of what we're doing here, though. Oh, you're saying that if we kept it at 160 and still had the discretion to go past that because it's a special permit?
Yeah.
It could be a matter of, resolving.
See, I'd be all right with that, because when I don't want to change the regulation for one person, right? One,
So you keep the baseline of 160, but give yourself discretion in
yeah,
site-specific
if somebody else,
circumstances.
if the public or the zoning says, yeah, hey, that looks great,
No, but they're
then you
not.
can
gonna-
do it, but
They're not
I'm-
gonna come in with an application. No, I don't think they would go through the whole process.
Well, they would go to my friend Jack here and say, what do you think if we came in with a 350 rather than a, whatever it is?
There's only so much I could tell an applicant before,
Can
Right.
you,
you know.
can your
We come with a
issue
special
be
permit.
resolved by landscaping?
no, I don't think so. Put a 350-foot bush up?
No, I mean, a line of trees or bushes or whatever that makes that.
Is this building is pretty much subsumed on the other side by Raymore and Flanagan?
Correct.
Yeah.
And
And it's 3 stories on one side and 4 on the other, right?
Well, a portion that's
Yeah.
visible
Is what?
is the floor, it's not the whole elevation. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
think.
yeah.
correct.
The room down
I think it
below.
sort of dishes down.
I think when you have a building with a side that long, your issue is mostly with the architecture, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but Jay's objection is to the changing of the regulation. He's not saying that this one isn't,
I'm not saying it's not aesthetically pleasing.
yeah.
I thought it looked great. But I think there's more to it than that. 320 is a big 3-story building.
350.
350 is a bigger three-story building.
Right, by 30, right?
Big stuff. That's my issue.
Jack, just for my edification, could you pull up that special permit thing on structures of how we give ourselves the ability to put in these monstrous outbuildings?
Which we're gonna make smaller.
Oh, like for our residential zone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Alright. Alright, so buildings and structures for uses accessory to a dwelling or other permitted use but having no common wall width or otherwise detached from the dwelling shall not exceed a height of 15 feet nor an aggregate ground coverage of 300 square feet, provided however that a larger ground coverage in height in excess of 15 feet is permitted subject to the approval of a special use in accordance with the special use provisions.
All right.
And the
That would
ground
get us
coverage,
there.
and the
Right.
ground coverage limitation
Right.
goes up for garages. Yeah,
Okay,
that-
so if it said that if the standard stayed, building wall, the longest side of a building shall not exceed 160 feet unless,
Provided
That
however
language.
that.
provided however
Yeah,
that,
no, I'm fine with that.
you know, that if, you know, the commission feels that it meets the special permit criteria, it can be increased to 350 feet.
And we'll kick this can right down the road until they come in with a site plan.
Right.
I think that works, but I think that has a
Chilling
chilling
effect.
effect.
And how many people with garages have felt
How about if
the
we did-
chilling effect?
How about, yeah, but we've done what we can do to buffer it and.
I understand, so we're gonna
So
do.
what if we
the same
did,
thing.
what if we said here, 350 is okay, and say unless, for good cause, the commission.
I think substantively we'll get to the same place, but I think it'll be the way, if we keep the standard and then allow us to have discretion, is gonna be a different fight than if we had the bigger number and tried to reduce it. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's, I think, human nature, that if we put a number out there, that's gonna be the standard.
And why 350, you know, why not 400?
Well, because
This one is
this,
site-specific.
this applicant is thinking about this.
Yeah, but we're gonna, then why do you change a regulation for a site-specific need, though? Because of the shape of the land.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons, but you know, there's some interest in our part in having the project built in Orange.
Yeah.
Justice either, you know?
I think we said, what, nobody had utilized the PRD regs in 26 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably a reason for that,
Probably.
you know?
I'm good either way.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to solve the problem here, but I think the language that was added protects us on the issue we're worried about, the 350-foot long.
Then,
Well, the aesthetics of it.
and if three out of four people think that, which is what it is, then
Yeah,
that's the way it
fine.
is.
Well, I mean, theoretically, he could vote against the application if he's not happy, you know.
Yeah, he could.
Right.
And then it'd be 3-4,
All right.
3-1.
All right,
But-
we can
Word
chat
to
about
go.
it all night. I'm okay with all due respect, I'm okay with it as written.
Yeah, I'm fine too.
All right, what else do we have? I think we've gone page by page, right? So again, on the substantive issues, the most substantive issues, we're gonna go to 15% on affordable. The FAR, we're gonna leave it 30.
No.
No,
keep it-
40.
They're-
I-
Keep it at the proposed
Leave
40.
it, leave it 40.
Yep.
At 40, right. And we're okay with the 75 units as long as they're all efficiency or one
Right.
bedroom.
But we also wanted the joining rather than a specific 65.
Yep, I have that note as well.
The what?
And
Change on page
Yeah, yeah,
3,
yeah, yeah.
change within 65 feet to adjoining. a
isn't
residential
within
property.
65 feet mean adjoining? I mean, I'm fine with the adjoining word, I don't wanna go and kick the horse again. But if it's within 65 feet, is there,
Just stop on.
Not necessarily. So,
Good.
yeah.
really?
And
Okay.
we're all comfortable that what we're doing tonight is consistent with the plan of conservation and development.
I don't think that's not a question for me. I think that's clear from the application. It's in the site that has been, really is, the expectation of the town was to get something like this in here. And there's no question that we need it, in my mind.
I mean, if you read 383-97, which gives is a statement of the purpose of a PRD zone, I think, it makes perfect sense what we're doing. Okay, then, in that case,
Just out of curiosity, does it make sense to have all of this compiled on a clean sheet of paper and vote on that at the next thing?
And also,
I'm just asking
I-
I'm asking the chair.
my preference would be to vote now.
Okay.
And then have, when it's been revised, you could circulate it amongst the commissioners, but, give it to Owen.
Yeah, I think Owen and I can,
And I don't know about the applicant, obviously.
Owen and I can make the changes. We'll maybe send it to you, Ozzy, to confirm that what you guys approved is what's in here. Then once we have the, okayed copy, we can send it to the applicant, file it with the town clerk, and go from there.
I mean, you don't see any problem with us approving it tonight. I
No,
mean,
it's-
it's the last draft plus what we changed.
No, again, you're acting in a legislative capacity, you can adopt it tonight,
All right.
Just for sake of thoroughness, I think we should just go through the changes again, or let me go through the changes that I noted. So it's on page 1, 10 to 15 for the minimum housing dwellings that have to be deed restricted. On page 2, we are deleting paragraph B to section 383-100. On page 3 to section 383-101.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Owen, I think was on C of 100. We're gonna get.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes, and striking, thank
You're
you.
gonna renumber
Okay.
Yes, we'll have to renumber 383,
100.
right. And we'll strike the second, or the last sentence to C.
Right.
For 383-101A1A, we're going to get rid of within 65 feet of and replace that with adjoining. We will correct my typo to 383-103A, the lesser of.
I think there was just one more change at the end.
Right. 383-115A2, 10% to 15%.
Right.
All right.
By the way, you and Attorney Sharp did a great job on these red lines. Very easy to understand what we're going over here.
It was all her office. I can't take credit for that.
As long as you're not colorblind.
Right.
All right, so let's vote. Who's prepared to move?
I am.
Okay.
I'm going to move that we approve the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted by Strawberry Hill Realty LLC to amend Article 12 of the Orange zoning regulations regarding the planned residential development as set forth in the submission that we received tonight, subject to the changes that our Owen just articulated. That's it.
With an effective date of April 14th.
Yes, I'll include that in my motion.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the application. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Well, good luck with the next phase.
The 65 wasn't a trick, it was just, I struggled with the joining as the specificity. so-
I'm still struggling.
Yeah, but- yeah, your preference is fine.
No, nothing in your presentation made me believe it was any subterfuge, but you're not the next applicant.
All right, very good. The final item on our agenda. Is the applicant here on this?
Yes, right in back there.
All right,
Wake
you know
the
what?
poor guy up.
Do you guys want to
Sorry.
take a? need a
Can I have
break?
one? I'm just going to go upstairs for a little.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break.
5-minute recess.
All right, we're back. Final item on our agenda is an application for temporary special use earth materials removal and filling submitted by Adlis Zusi, and this is for property known as 52 Skyview Road. Let's start, Kevin, by reading the notice, please.
Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following. Application for temporary special use, earth materials removal and filling, submitted by Aldis Zuzi for a property known as 52 Skyview Road to bring in 750 cubic yards material. All earthwork is in conjunction with the proposed construction of a single-family home. Copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department dated Orange, Connecticut, this 23rd day of March, 2026.
All right, very good, thank you. Is the applicant present? Would you please come to the podium and introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Adlis Zusi, and I'm hoping to add another 350 cubic yards on the property in order,
750.
extra 350, right?
Oh,
On top of the 400.
Fair, okay. Sorry.
That's about 20 trucks or so, commercial trucks. And the issue is the water, right, the drainage. So it's still gonna be on my property. And, I'm hoping for an approval. Yours, sounds a lot easier than the last application, so.
It's 52. This
It's
was
52,
this was
when I
split off
bought
of
the lot, it was listed at 54.
We actually split it, I think, in 2022, fairly recently. They were in front of the board.
So this is 52 Skyview?
Correct.
Okay, so if the first piece we're looking at is the site plan, sir. You are the owner, not the engineer, correct, sir?
I am the owner, yes.
Okay. So first on this plan, it says proposed 4-bedroom plus 1-bedroom multifamily.
That was the original idea behind it, but then we were talking with Jack, and he said anything after 2008, it cannot be applied with an in-law apartment. So I withdrew that application. So it's, it's just gonna be a single 5-bedroom unit.
Okay, so your testimony is that the site plan in this application incorrectly shows this as a multifamily dwelling. It should be corrected to say proposed four-bedroom,
Five-bedroom.
five-bedroom home,
Yes.
Single-family.
single
So
family.
with this plan will be revised?
It will be. We'll make that revision. There's one other item, that I'm sure we'll get to. But yes, that was the original plan, was for an in-law. Our elderly conversion regs say you have to be on the assessor's map as of 2008. This lot was just created in 2022, so would not qualify.
Okay, but that's what our reg currently says?
Correct.
So that, why is that?
Our reg says what?
Our reg says that for an elderly conversion, your lot has to have been on the assessor's map as of October 1st, 2008.
I see you weren't eligible for the program.
Right, this lot didn't exist until 2022. And you have to predate 2008. Why? Your
So
guess is as good as mine.
that might be something we need to address.
So in other words, you can't do a new house with an in-law?
Correct. I was confused
Pursuant-
when I learned
Really?
that myself through this application. Yes.
That doesn't make sense.
It was even before. The previous date was October 1st, 1997. And then it was amended in 2009, it looks like, to be 2008. But it says, no single-family dwelling shall qualify under these regulations unless it is located on a lot having a minimum area of 30,000 square feet, and unless such unit shall have been on the assessor's list as of October 1, 2008. Why we have that limitation, couldn't tell you.
Because it seems to me if somebody wanted to build a four-bedroom house with an in-law apartment, they should be able to.
For not a accessory dwelling unit, one for the age,
One that met the rest of the criteria,
Right.
right, I agree with you, I don't know why we have that qualification.
When he came in
Right.
initially, what's your first name?
Atlas.
Atlas. When Atlas came in initially, was that what was intended?
Oh, it was there, yeah, and then I'm reviewing the applications, and we went down to get the assessor to sign and
he said,
certify.
"Oh,
He
by the
said, well,
way."
we can't do that, yeah.
What, but I'm asking and then all other, not all other, but the aspects of the age-related, was that what it was for?
Yeah, the only thing, once he didn't meet this qualification, it was kind of null and void.
Right.
But, without doing a deep review, I don't see any other provisions that he would not have complied with. He just was not on the assessor's map as of October 1, 2008.
so just as not that anyone did anything wrong type of thing, but if you run into a situation where there's an incongruity like that, and someone's willing to wait, maybe bring it to our attention.
I agree. I mean, I run into things all the time that I think are sort of, ridiculous rules,
Well,
but
why not bring it up under new business?
I do have some, that I've
You got a
written
list?
down, but yeah, but he's ready to apply, It would
like I
be
said.
several months for
Yeah,
him
we're talking about
to
in the
wait.
future.
Yeah, no, in the future, I think that's something we should definitely,
What was the if I can, what was the purpose of the in-law? Who was
My mom and dad, are over 65,
old
hoping,
people?
yeah,
Yeah.
trying to keep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I don't look too bad.
Okay, yeah, Jack, obviously this is not,
no, I totally understand.
a negative comment, but you will sometimes be aware of things before us and,
Most times.
because, every time.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I was missing something, like maybe I didn't understand why this rule was
I may
implemented.
have been on the board. I don't remember
Yeah.
anything like that at all.
Yeah, because
thought-
I think that's something we encourage.
100%.
Yeah.
And we've continued to show that when we have those.
It's a special permit application for.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to think of how.
I think we're all totally on the same page.
So how do we handle this kind of a thing?
I think,
Well, he doesn't want.
Well, yeah, right now-
He's just building a five-bedroom house.
Well, but
so the only difference between his current application and if he came in with an elderly apartment is an oven. Because
Another kitchen.
he's allowed to have the extra bedroom. He can even have a sink, a microwave, an extra fridge, but you can't have the second cooking facility. So if we decide we want to change this regulation,
stick it in.
he can come right back and
All right.
all he would have to do to his house is install an oven. So if that's the way we want to move, 100%, yeah.
Let's, maybe we should bring that up, we should
Sounds good.
maybe look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a regulation that we've been called on to look at numerous times.
Yeah.
And it's something that we encourage.
Yeah.
Sorry,
All right.
let's go back to what we
Gotta
have.
give us
before.
old people someplace to go.
But we definitely should get that notation fixed
Yeah.
on
So-
the final.
So if I'm reading this, if I'm reading the plan correctly, and I know you're not the engineer, sir, but you have much more firsthand knowledge than I. So what it looks like is you're on the side of a hill, and it goes down into a swale before it goes out of that field and into the adjoining properties. And there's a catch basin, and it looks like everything uphill from you on Skyview flows down along that old stone wall and field, and then collects in a detention basin near 34
Yes.
at the bottom of the hill. So that's what keeps all of the water from you from running into your neighbor, across the stone wall. And do you know, does anybody maintain, or Jack, do you know, does anyone maintain that?
It's the responsibility of the property owner. So whoever, owned the property before him, it's their responsibility to maintain
The swale?
this structure and that everything's functioning the way it should.
So it's kind of important for your neighbors, and I don't know why it's your problem, but that area that all the water's gonna flow out
It should
actually
be
gets to
clear,
that
yeah.
big catch basin.
Correct.
Because when I was looking at your plan, I was like, the engineer's spending all of this time designing to catch the stormwater from your roof drains, and I know that's the law, but who the heck cares about that? But you've got this driveway that's like gonna be like the Splash Mountain down at Disney World, coming down the side at a very steep grade, just flowing down your hill there, with nothing, no curbs, but it hits the swales.
Right.
But if that's not maintained by, just mowing
Gonna
or,
back up.
it's,
Well, is there a maintenance plan that's part of the application?
well,
For wetlands, there is. Our standard conditions for detent ponds, I have a little, informational sheet that I give to all property owners that I know have one of these on their property. Just gives them an idea of what it takes to, maintain that kind of structure. And, if it's on your property, it's your responsibility, even if it collects it for the whole neighborhood.
and it does, because all of
Yeah.
Skyview Drive's drainage
Everything goes down there.
goes down into that detention basin.
So it's obviously in the best interest of, the property owner to keep it functioning the way it should, because their property is gonna be the one that pays the price.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, or 613 Derby
Yeah, or,
Avenue.
whoever's downhill from that.
Right.
Sorry, you're not the engineer, so there's nothing really to ask you, but it's just that the engineer's going through all of this effort to take care of stuff that doesn't matter, and everything else is just flowing off the site into the storm drain.
The stormwater management has already been approved, right?
Stormwater management.
I mean,
Well, that's part
The
of
town
our.
engineer
Yeah.
reviews the runoff calculations.
Correct. So he, the D10 pond is rated to handle, this volume.
And he's the one who confirms that the pre-construction runoff from the site versus the post-construction runoff is net zero.
Both him and I would probably, work
Run
on that,
those
but-
calculations, because
He runs I'm the one, I'd be going there inspecting, making sure I don't see any runoff clearly, channeling onto another property, or depositing material on another property because water isn't getting to where it needs to go. But final design, you know, should match this where everything gets to where it needs to.
I've never quite understood. What we're being asked to evaluate here is the control plan, the plan for control of accelerated erosion and sedimentation, right?
What we're technically approving is the import of 750
Yeah,
yards
correct.
total of fill. Otherwise, we wouldn't see this at all
Correct.
because it meets the bulk area
Right.
requirements.
And the thing is, it doesn't even come to us for that reason unless it's more than 600 yards, right?
400 cubic
400.
yards. Anything exceeding 400's got to come in front of us.
Either coming into the site or going out.
Cut or fill, correct.
Right, and they would have had to go to wetlands anyway because they're in the upland review area.
Yeah, and I did review this administratively, you know, there was nothing within the boundary to prevent me from doing that,
So
so.
all we look at really is, do they have adequate silt fences and,
Right, and all, part of that was the, you know,
And
the
the,
wetlands submittal as well, and, you know, that's in their conditions of approval for all wetlands. You know, that's like the number one is you gotta call me, before or after installation, I come make sure everything is operating properly. And then obviously I do regular, you know, inspections to make sure that everything is maintained and functioning the way it should.
Okay, well, where the silt fences, I'm sorry, sir, we will probably have some questions for you, but because you're not the engineer, we're kind of.
I'll try my best.
No, but we're, so, and, you know, and it's much better to deal with when it's a piece of paper than people out in the field. So, this silt fence is kind of shown in here in a bit of a hodgepodge.
Right.
You know, because all of the area up to his lot line at the adjoining property toward the bottom of the page is going to be disturbed and flow in silt. So really, that fence should wrap further down page. You know what I'm trying
Down.
to? If you look here, it's
Yep.
coming along here, that's fine.
Yep,
You know, it should be closer to the toe of the disturbance.
Gotcha.
Because you want.
Yeah, you wanna
it
prevent
sh-
the-
you-
prevent
You
it
want the
from
berm to continue acting properly, but it's gotta come this way, or it's gonna bypass the silt fence and mess up this catch basin.
Kevin, is there a separate plan showing the,
All it does is it shows a detail for
yeah.
the silt fence, but
It's
but
the squares and the line.
it's
yeah, I
a-
see that.
yeah, but what
That's
he
it.
should
There's not
be
a separate-
doing.
Separate plan?
No, but what he should be doing is, you know, see if they have to stake some hay bales on this catch basin too.
I have, yeah, I have a lot of latitude, like with the S&E controls. I have no problem telling him to move it if that's where the berm makes sense and to protect the
Well,
catch basin. Yeah, absolutely.
When you see him bringing in fill, you're gonna see stuff washing over
Yeah.
here into this corner, and you gotta protect this catch basin. Because if he's gotta maintain this, once it gets into that piping,
We'll have him put a
it
silt sack in the
it gets
basin.
really expensive.
Yeah, so add silt sack.
Yeah, and those hay bales.
Mm-hmm.
It'll keep you from doing something expensive later.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Sorry. And the sanitarian went over the reserve and the other thing.
Correct.
Over time, sir, you want to make sure that you're careful about what you, I mean, that's kind of going to be your front yard, but you're going to want to be careful what you plant over by all of that in that area. You might want to leave it as grass. But that's not our job.
This is the town engineer has signed off on this.
He will, yeah, and, you know, this is for, he has not done the zoning application yet for the actual building of the house itself. So the town engineer is gonna have to review and sign off on that application as well.
Okay.
But he has absolutely seen these plans. He did for wetlands too.
All right.
Now, I did want to bring up one thing. I know we spoke about it before, but there is a provision in our standards and conditions for this application where if a property is at lower elevation than an abutting property, and is proposing cut or fill within 50 feet of that line, they do need written approval from the adjoining owner. So that is not something that we have currently right now. The applicant is gonna have to reach out to the owner and do that. And this is a situation where grading does get a little tricky, so I wanna be sure that, you know, the commission is not held, you know, if something goes wrong, obviously, so we do wanna make sure that we see that
Is that
written
Luca,
approval.
who's the homeowner that they have to?
Lucarelli is the last name, yeah. Jennifer Lucarelli. And if I'm correct, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the driveway runs pretty much right along, or is proposed to run right along that property line. So if this cut or this fill is gonna be going, and as the application says, where the driveway is, that's definitely within 50 feet of that line.
Yep.
So we don't, you know, we wanna
We don't
make
have
sure
any
that we
discretion.
cross our Ts and dot our Is here.
Good. Understand you're gonna have to get approval from us? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Where's her house located?
The house,
Yeah.
where is it located? It's,
Close to that property? Is it
South.
close to that driveway?
it's
Adjacent.
close to the driveway. Well, yeah, it
It's,
goes
let's
around.
see, I'm gonna give you a
Like
really,
an L shape.
really rough estimate here. From the closest point, it's about 35 feet.
So that would be her side yard setback?
Correct. So she meets, obviously, her 25-foot side yard setback, but she is higher in elevation than our applicant's property here today. So this provision kind of kicks in there because his filling is within 50 feet of that line.
That's another puzzler.
It's filling for the driveway.
Correct, yeah. I know in the application, it says, you know, the filling is for the septic system, grading around the back of the new dwelling, but mainly the driveway. So,
Any idea why, as long as you're not undercutting the neighbor's land, that this
to be honest, I don't think I've done many of these since, you know,
Yeah.
we don't look at these every day. So I was familiarizing myself with this, you know, obviously found that and wanted to make sure that we don't
While
leave
you're
the-
talking to the town engineer, ask him if there's a engineering reason for that, because I can't think of.
Yeah, we know, we'll do.
So this is the
That's problem with
second
These documents is they.
provision that has been discussed about what's the purpose.
Yeah.
So it's slightly off topic, but I would encourage this commission to think about whether they want to engage a town planner as we get into the extensive amendments that the housing bill requires, so.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
So, what do, how, we can't really give an approval.
Yeah,
until we get
my
that.
suggestion would be to keep this public hearing open. Give the applicant an opportunity to reach out to the neighbor, see if he can get written approval, or,
I mean, she may want to engage somebody to look at it on her behalf. It
Could be.
run into some time.
yeah, obviously if we need an extension, I would request that of the applicant. If the neighbor says, you know, no, absolutely not, I don't consent to this, you know, then this provision would not be met, and I don't,
What does the provision say?
provision says no excavation, filling, grading, or removal which is below the elevation of any abutting street or property line shall occur within 50 feet of such line, except that excavation, filling, grading, or removal of next to the abutting property line may be permitted if written approval from the adjoining owner is received by the commission.
What section is that?
Sounds like it's
is-
contingent.
That is 383-197E.
So Jack, while the chair looks up the provision, why don't you explain to the applicant about requesting an extension of time?
Sure. So if the board decides, you know, we're butting up against our 35-day timeframe, we request that you grant us an extension of 30, 60 days in order for us to come to a decision. If you don't grant the extension, then the board is forced to take action with what is in front of them now. So it may result in a denial because we do not have the time to adequately, you know,
Okay.
find this information.
All right, so we gotta keep it open, right?
Right,
Okay.
right now, we don't need that. If we were to meet
If she says, sure, no problem with that.
Right, the problem would be if, if the neighbor says no, our applicant's engineer has to go back to the drawing board and figure out a way that he can make this work and is not within 50 feet of this property line to bring her opinion into consideration.
All right, so this should go on our agenda for next time.
Correct.
And
And if
in
the,
case we need an extension.
yeah, and if the applicant is unable to get a hold of her or get an answer from the property owner, I would have to request an extension. If I was not granted an extension, we would have to come here with the information we have and make a decision.
So if we approved it tonight, the landowner would have no recourse? She would have no ability to say no at that point?
Well, oh, and I mean,
If we approved it tonight, we would approve it subject to that.
We can't,
But I don't want to
we
do that.
wouldn't
And no,
approve it if we know that it's a contingent matter.
it is, right now, it is not meeting, clearly not
Yeah.
meeting one of our standards for the approval of this special permit.
Right, so I wouldn't
Right.
undertake to approve it.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
even
subject to-
conditionally.
Right. No, I wouldn't even do that.
No, because she might look at it and say, I'm not doing that without
Right,
getting an
right.
engineer involved,
Right.
or a lawyer, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd be interested.
see, as to why.
I would be interested for the town engineer to opine as to why this exists from a practical standpoint.
Why that section exists?
Yeah. I mean, if you were excavating and undercutting somebody, okay, I could get that, But if you're lower than them and you're filling or contouring, why is it anybody's business?
Why? Because you're not going to, you're not able to affect her site drainage.
I think the idea
Yeah.
is if you are gonna make your property suddenly higher than hers, and now all the water that was on your lower property is now being pushed off onto hers.
Well, yeah, but then,
say that, though.
but the engineer's gotta certify that that doesn't occur.
Right.
Right. Agreed, I'm just
So that's not,
spitballing here.
and no one's buying enough dirt to be that much of a problem.
Right.
But, again, I just,
This is probably not a problem for her, is what you're saying.
it shouldn't be. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, the water
But-
runs down, is gonna be running down to, 52
So
anyways here.
What are we looking for
Padless.
Atlas to do? Just get a consent?
He's gotta get some sort of, permitted, if written approval from the adjoining owner is received by the commission.
All right.
I'm not bringing this up because I think it's a problem, I just don't want to leave the board open to anything
No.
if she decides it
Well,
is
that's
an
what
issue.
I'm asking, what Aldous has to get to us,
Yeah,
which I think is just a piece of paper that says, I have no objection.
it could be an email, she can shoot me an email and say, hey,
Okay.
for 52 Skyview, I have no objection to the proposal.
All right, so you'll need their email, his email.
Yeah.
Perfect.
and you'll help him talking to her if.
Oh, absolutely.
necessary?
If she has any questions
You
or-
might mention that section specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may, it's a modern house next door, like it wasn't built that long ago.
Yeah,
We
that
probably
whole-
have this woman's number, or property owner's number, on our records, so, if the applicant wanted to, I'd be more than happy to obviously call her, educate her on the situation at hand. Maybe I can get it directly. I don't know if she would wanna talk to.
If you want help like
Yeah,
that,
if
you don't,
this-
sir.
it's up to
Sure,
you.
yeah, that
I
would
mean,
be
I'd be
great.
happy
I
to
mean,
do
if you
so.
know her yourself,
Ah.
that's,
I don't know her. I never met her, so
Yeah,
maybe coming from you guys would be.
No, I'd be more than happy to do something like that. Obviously, if she, wants to say, I'm gonna point her in your direction, if she,
For sure.
there's only so much I can do to convince her, but,
Well, you can't really.
well, yeah, I'm also not trying to I'm trying to educate her about the
Can't really
situation. I'm
represent
not-
her.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything.
Right.
Sounds familiar.
okay.
So what else is required of this? Anything?
Not if we're gonna keep it open.
Okay. Let's do that. That concludes our agenda.
Move to adjourn?
Yeah,
Why don't you just explain to the applicant what we're
yeah, let me,
proposing to do?
All right. Hope
yeah,
so.
we're gonna, we're gonna put this matter on the agenda for our next
For our
meeting,
next
which
meeting.
is the first Tuesday in,
No, it's gonna be the second Tuesday of this month.
second Tuesday of April.
April 21st, 2 weeks from tonight.
And so if you have this letter we're talking about from the adjoining owner,
Perfect.
then we can act on the application. But if you don't, then it'll go over to the next meeting. And at some point, the law requires that we give you a determination within a certain number of days. And if we get close to that certain number of days and we don't have that letter from her, and there's no hope of getting that letter from her, then what we have to do is deny this application and you have to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
If you're working with her on a resolution at that time, then you can give us an extension so that we have more time to decide the application, and then, we can keep it alive and hopefully you'll get at some point in the future, get what you need from her so that we can, deal with the application.
Sounds good.
All right. So we'll hold this hearing open, we'll hold this matter
Thank
open.
you, guys. I appreciate
Sorry to make
your
you sit
time.
through all that, too.
All right, well,
All right.
It's a learning experience.
That concludes our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
It's been forward.
Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, very good. Thank you.